And now, the survival show that once survived drag racing a handy-capable knee scooter through the house while being hopped up on painkillers. In this episode, we wrap up the two-part best-of series for ITRH. Howdy and welcome to the Rabbit Hole's Urban Survival Podcast. This is episode number 299. I'm your host, Aaron, and you are in the Rabbit Hole, safe and sound. A few quick notes. There won't be regular video for this episode. Again, just like last episode. If you didn't hear in the last episode, the short answer is this. I managed a full rupture of my Achilles tendon, sprained my ankle, and sprained my big toe, just for good measure. I am past the surgery, and hopefully my foot has been returned to a not floppy state and back to working as per the original design specifications. We'll see what happens in a couple weeks when they get all this stuff off my leg. The final episode of the podcast, episode number 300, will be back to normal video and audio quality, and it will be out the day after this episode. You won't have to wait the extra week. That brings up an important point if you're new here. There is only one episode left of this podcast. If you're just tuning in, be sure to listen to the episode titled WTF is Happening to ITRH. Again, if you don't know what's going on, check out the episode titled WTF is Happening to ITRH. The link will be in the description section of YouTube and in the podcast show notes. If you're brand new here, don't start with this episode. Next up, let's recap. What are you about to hear? I was thinking about what I wanted the last two regular episodes of ITRH to be. And I thought it would be fun to do a stroll through all the episodes. Obviously, we can't re-listen to everything. That would be a really long episode. But there are episodes that really stood out, for me at least, and things that the listeners said something about. So the episodes you're about to listen to fall in for one of two reasons. They illustrate an important moment or pivot point in the show, or they're one of the most memorable moments for myself and the stuff that you guys said something about. With all that out of the way, let's get to it. Howdy, and welcome to a very special episode 118 of In the Rabbit Hole's Urban Survival Podcast. In this episode, we cover Ebola, poopy diapers, and surfboards in survival. We're your hosts, Aaron
and Jason.
And you are in the rabbit hole, safe and sound. Everybody's wound up about Ebola, and it goes like this. Be aware of things.
Right.
It's okay to be concerned about things. It's not okay to freak out and react to the freak out. Here's one of the things while I was working on that ebook, I gelled an idea that I've been thinking of, which is, and I was toying with the guys, like, why, especially with preppers, and guys, why do we run to tactical stuff so fast? And why is it like the first thing most people do? And I realized it's very just basic human instinct. Think about it. You can boil down human survival and reaction to danger, fight or flight. It's binary.
Yeah.
And what do we get? We get fight, tactical, guns, or we get flight. I got to bug out and move on. And it's like no concept of what either of those things mean or where we're going with that. But it's like, I got to bug out and I got to get some guns.
Primal instincts.
Fight or flight. You immediately start prepping that way based on that, as opposed to, hey, water might be more important. Or, okay, I'm done with water. That was pretty quick. Okay, I should work on food. And while I'm working on food, okay, I can start tiptoeing into the tactical stuff. And so what all this has done is that fight or flight kicks in. You get that binary response, and you're kind of going in opposite directions. You're worried about bugging out. You're worried about guns. You're worried about tactical, and you're not thinking through basic stuff. Like, is this really a big deal? Okay. If you do back of the envelope math, which no one is putting out in the news, at least not super, unless it's super buried. If you take in the mortality rate of Ebola and you take its current infection rate, so every 3 weeks, the number of people infected doubles, you would end up with 1.1 billion people dead by January 14th, 2016. That is 1/7 of the entire human population, or actually, that's more than 1/7 of the entire human population gone in a year.
Is there a way we can speed that up a little bit?
See, See, you had just got excited. A lot of other people are like, oh my God, we're all gonna. But see, there's a lot of other complications to it. So we're going to really get people wound up, which is when you lose that much of a population, you're talking about wars, famine, right? You're talking about total unfettered chaos and not like bachelor party, fun, total anarchy and chaos. You're talking about true, just the whole world has just gone to crap. Here's the reality here. That's possible. Just like Ebola going airborne is possible. There is almost nothing different that you would do in a big Ebola breakout that you would do in a zombie apocalypse or economic collapse. You're most likely going to have to bug in for an extended period of time. You're going to need a whole lot of water. You're going to need a whole lot of food. You're going to need to deal with bad people or just desperate people that would want to take your stuff. It's all exactly the same. There is nothing different. It's not worth worrying about. It's worth being concerned about. It's not the end of the world as we know it. I should take that. I do not believe it is. I am concerned about it. I am staying aware of it, but I'm not. It doesn't change my preps in any way. I'm not going to buy more rubber gloves today than I did yesterday. I'm not going to buy N95 masks. Well, not more than I already have. And I think that's the thing that going back to, we get worked up and we think, oh my God, there's this danger. I have to take care of the danger and not think, wait, is that danger really right here? Or, and is that danger actually different in any way, shape or form than any of the other dangers that I've already prepared myself for?
Breathe, sir.
I have always wanted a hazmat suit. You know, if you're going to prep, focus on the things that really matter, you know, focus on the basics. You know, you don't need the stuff. I mean, if you have the money and you just want to do it and it'll actually make you feel better and you'll be able to sleep better at night, fine. I won't fault you for it. But to be so consumed by it, I think is unnecessary. Like
that's the whole point of this conversation is not to get completely overly consumed by it where it's taking away from living your life.
Thank you for the perfect segue into the next section, Jason, which is what were we up to while we were on break? Off last season, we're like, we're going to do all this crazy stuff and we're going to clear it all up when we first come back. And then a lot of rather interesting things happened. Shenanigans and good stories and bad stories and happy stories and sad stories while we were gone. We're gonna start off with the good news. Jason, you and Jonathan both, but he's not here to tell us about his because whatever. But in all seriousness, he is taking care of his happy moment at the moment. But what was it? You followed the survival rule number 2 after you save yourself. Replicate. Make a baby.
Yes, sir. Having a little girl.
Congratulations.
Man, thank you, sir. Thank
you and Jonathan both, even though he's not here. He's actually, I was just chatting back and forth with him a little while earlier today, and they just took their new young one home. Yeah, craziness. You guys are craziness. Like running off and getting married and having kids on me and stuff.
I know. And what's funny is somehow you got out of not procreating during this time period.
It was on purpose. It was like something was in the water, so I was just like extra careful.
That's what it's totally going to change up my whole prep thing. That's for damn sure.
Yeah,
I've been checking out tactical strollers, how to stuff guns in baby bags. I'm going to have some really cool gray tactical. We're talking pink tactical, baby.
Yeah,
I've got it covered, man.
Guns and diapers. It's like a whole separate show. Life as a
father.
Wow,
that just scares me.
Daughter.
I think that's the first time I've actually said that.
Yeah. No, You've said it before on the farm, but you were tired and sweaty. And
no, it's actually being a father. Me actually saying the words father.
That's true. I don't think I have ever heard you say the words father.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
yeah. It kind of gets you like right there, wherever there is. Yeah. It's an audio show. Nobody can see me pointing anywhere, but see what happens. We go on break and knock up women and do stuff, go off and get married and take up surfing and
yeah, dude. Talk about some of this new little projects you've got going on.
So man. I've got a lot of weird. So. Right. Part of the reason was like, I did get a few emails from people that were like, what was the deal with the end of last season? And it was just like the universe opened up and pooped on me. I was just like, what could go wrong. And it literally got to the point next where it was like, I would call you or I would call Jonathan and I would just start laughing. I was like, you're never going to believe this. You're never going to believe this. So the big one is we lost the tactical Weimaraner.
Yeah.
And as I joke, I got a lot of mileage out of that used Weimaraner. There's a huge hole in my heart now. I miss that. I miss that little bastard so much. And he is still in the studio, not passing gas now. He's up there on top of the gun safe. And then the week after that, we had a pack of stray dogs got onto the farm, ate. They didn't even eat. They just destroyed all of our chickens. Like 3 years worth of work just down the tubes. And
even took out a couple rabbits.
Because we had 38 or 40 chickens.
Yeah, it was somewhere up in there.
It was somewhere up in there. And most of it was like we badly needed to cull. We were about twice at what the capacity what we should have been at, but just destroyed everything, including our special tactical chickens that you have been building our special tactical chicken line for all this time.
That actually killed me the most.
I knew it would. So then I was just like,
even after the second batch, man, when they came back and they got those.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we got like nothing done this summer that we meant to do.
Yeah, with the farm, but I mean, for just personal wise, we did a lot of stuff.
We did a lot of. You went to Kilimanjaro.
Yeah, I even put in the rabbit hole sticker on the peak.
Yes.
Of Kilimanjaro. Yes. Come on.
No, we did a lot of personal stuff. Like, so I took up surfing, which you
needed to find your zen bad, man. After that,
man.
After that, just roller coaster, you needed to find your zen, man.
Yeah. Tired of everything.
I was going to start feeding him some like Quaaludes in his water or something. I was like, man.
Hey, I'm still game for that. I'm still totally down for that. I'm not opposed to that. But yeah, no, I mean, I needed the release. And I think that's a big survival lesson because so many of us spend so much time thinking about so much dark stuff like ISIS terrorists at our door or Ebola, or a lot of us as preppers, we spend so much time basically self-winding. Like that's hard for a lot of preppers to try to communicate and have a conversation with non-preppers because they don't get why
we're so wound up.
Some of us are so wound up, and it's like, well, I spend probably too much time thinking about really dark, messed up stuff. And thinking of that there's a time limit between now and, hey, that could happen any minute. So I got to be freaking Swiss Army knife of whatever survive. And I got to do it going back to a dog with a ball. I got to do this and I got to do that. And it's got to be done by here. And the zombies are going to rise tomorrow. The Ebola zombies and whatever. And so an important survival thing, which is unplugging and learning to take care of ourselves a lot.
Yeah. We rediscovered, life, sir.
Yes.
That doing all this prep is completely pointless unless we're out having some fun and doing something with our life.
Howdy, and welcome to episode 129 of In the Rabbit Hole's Urban Survival Podcast. In this episode, we discuss the missing link in your liberty. Awesome things our tax dollars helped fund, the TSA groping Jason's junk, porpoises, and ITRH reloading for Season 5. We're your hosts, Aaron
and Jason.
And you are in the rabbit hole, safe and sound. All right, Roving Horde, it is the final episode of Season 4.
Final.
Now we have something very special we want to discuss with you today. Tax day is just behind us for our 2014 taxes.
Correct.
Jason, you and I have some interesting things to discuss about this.
Yes. I write that big check to the IRS. You kind of start wondering where the hell all that money goes to.
Yeah. Now it's all good causes, of course.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's all good
Very
causes.
Interesting.
Now, Jason, I understand you also contributed to the arts this past year through your tax contribution. Tell us about that.
Well, yes, sir, I did. I helped fund $10,000 to return to the stage Ruse Elvis, whatever the hell that is. It's about a shy woman who channels the personality of Elvis Presley and her imaginary friend Teddy Roosevelt. Are you
my God.
kidding me?
Oh my God. That's amazing. That is amazing, man.
Aaron, what earth-shattering research did you fund last year?
As a nation, we needed to know if mothers loved their dogs as much as their children. So we studied the way their brains responded to pictures of both their children and their dogs. It only cost the taxpayers $371,000. Money well spent right there. Mm-hmm. Jason, what did your money help fund last year?
Oh, you're going to love this one. The effects on robot provided sweetest massage on rabbits. Yeah. I really wanted to know how it impacted their physical recovery after exercise. It only cost $387,000. Are you effing kidding me?
Wow.
Contributions to humanities knowledge did you fund last year?
I funded a study of whether eating radioactive tuna caused by the Fukushima disaster, as part of a balanced meal, of course, will provide humans with mild superpowers. And it only cost $1.2 million. Small price to pay.
Jeez. Aaron, what else did your money help fund this year?
Oh,
our great works.
Oh, this is great. This is so fascinating. I helped feigning. Let's see if I can get through this bit without laughing. I helped fund training 3 mountain lions to run on a treadmill. Then, and only then, we could measure the energy consumption of cats' hunting techniques. $856,000 was a small price to pay for such important information.
Direly important information.
You should see what we did with those mountain lions next. Bowflex. This year, 2015, it's all about the Bowflex.
Dude, I don't get this, man.
Maybe they needed a healthful website.
We need to figure out,
that's what this is code for.
We need to figure out how to do our own research funding, or how to get the funding for all of our own research. I'm sure we can come up with some better funding research.
One-legged strippers.
Oh, yeah.
How do they do it? That's what we should research. All right.
Haven't you already funded that research?
Go. We're not going to go down that road. And what contribution to society did you help fund last year, Jason?
Let's see. This is huge. I funded a study on the impact of schools of swimming sea monkeys. Check that out. Schools of swimming sea monkeys. I'll wait for it. The ocean current. Are you kidding me? $307,000. Well spent.
Oh, yeah.
The flow.
Sea monkeys.
On the flow of the ocean current. Sea monkeys.
Sea monkey. That must have been a shitload of sea monkeys.
Jesus.
Now, you know what I wonder? Do you think they bought them in those individual packets like we got when we were kids? Or if they bought them in bulk and just dumped it in the ocean?
Let's see where this floats off to.
Oh, wow.
What were the researchers, like 10 years old? This is where this goes.
You know, we would have done that.
We would have.
When we were 10.
Would have.
I'm shit.
God.
I'm 39, you're 40. I'm thinking we do that shit next week.
If we get paid like that for it?
Sure. Sea monkeys, sure, whatever. Moving on. Jason, I understand you went really big this past year with some military spending. That's very patriotic of you. What was it again?
I helped fund $1 billion.
Wait. That's billion with a B, right? Billion. $1 billion.
$1 billion.
What did you do with your $1 billion?
To destroy 16 billion in unneeded purchases of military grade ammunition. Oh my God, fall out my chair. Are you effing up? Are you kidding me?
I'm pretty sure we would have done that shit for free. Actually, I'm pretty sure
I get meat sweats when I read that.
Meat sweats. Meat sweats. I don't want to know why that gives you meat sweats. Although, we did just eat a lot of falafel or whatever. So yeah, we could have meat sweats. But besides the point, herein lies part of the problem with this whole business plan that they got going on here. You see, I'm pretty sure that almost every member of the roving horde would have paid money to go blow that shit up for them. I mean, let alone the fact of, ammunition doesn't go bad. So, I know it. Well, you got to destroy it so that you can order more next year. Because if you don't destroy it, you can't order more next year. It
is utterly asinine.
16 billion.
We would have paid $4 billion for the $16 billion of ammunition.
Yeah.
Instead of wasting money, we could have given them money. I don't know.
Bullets for homeless.
Yes.
That could have been a program too. Bullets for homeless. I don't know what they would have done with them, but anyway.
Mr. Franco, what did you help fund with them in mind this year?
As it turns out, I helped fund $1.9 million to induce heart attacks in beagles while they were forced to run on fucking treadmills.
Fuck it.
This, all to conclude that exercise is good for us. Now, the cherry, because it does get better over the past 20 plus or minus years. Yes, 20 plus or minus years. That same research study has been going on and has received an estimated $6 million of tax dollars to kill beagles by making them run on treadmills to determine if exercise is good for us. I'm pretty sure we figured out a long time ago that exercise was flipping good for us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't think we needed to kill beagles for that. I actually really like beagles. They're good dogs. I mean, I didn't do that to any dog, but
I agree.
But here's the thing. I understand there's crazy people who believe the taxes are too high. And there's even people believe that this stuff is wasteful. After all, we're only $18 trillion in debt. And so you see, we cannot possibly cut the nearly $2 million in killing the beagles fund.
Exactly.
The cupboards are bare, man. The cupboards are bare.
The government waste is just absolutely ridiculous.
Now, many of us think this is disgusting, all of it, and we wonder how things like this can continue. Should we be better informed about things? And should we be concerned with things like, I don't know, maybe vast data collection that wipes its ass with the Constitution? Yes.
People have to wake up, man.
Yes.
It's nauseating to the point of literally, I want to upchuck all my lunch.
Yes.
It just, where have we gotten to?
Perhaps it's sort of like lending a gun to your irresponsible cousin and saying, only use this for anything you deem to be for your own protection. And he promptly turns around and says, great, thank you, because your wife was looking at me funny. Apparently, NORAD is moving back into Cheyenne Mountain to protect sensitive equipment from an EMP. Is it me, or does anyone else hear the theme song to Stargate whenever they think of Cheyenne Mountain? Now, also in the news, apparently Intel is now building robotic spiders. Robots, which also kind of makes me hear the Star Trek Stargate soundtrack once again. Yes, me and like 3 other Stargate fans in the audience are giggling right now. And
geeks, God.
Anyway, all this stuff with taxes and the spying. Oh, and apparently the NSA got all of their ideas from the DEA, who'd been...
Seriously, how on earth are we going to get back to normalcy?
That brings us back to the main topic of today's show. And here's the thing. We're missing something from the lineup of sheepdogs, sheep, and wolves. I just want y'all to just let that marinate in your brains for a minute.
Sink in, just get the full concept of that in.
Have you ever thought that something was missing from the lineup of sheepdogs, sheep, and wolves? Who is there to keep sheepdogs from reverting back to wolves? This idea actually came to me a few years ago. I was watching my mother. She has a Australian Shepherd, a sheepdog. Damn thing was jumping all over her, harassing her, nipping her heels, and dog's just a hot mess. I think y'all heard him in one episode. Freaking dog jumped on me. And she said, okay, your sheep is coming. You see, to a sheepdog, you can only be 4 things: another sheepdog, a sheep, a wolf, or a shepherd. And there's something else to note about sheepdogs. They were once wolves. When there is no shepherd, they revert back to being wolves. I think we've all seen that documentary of what happens when man's gone. And the first thing that happens is dogs go back to being wolves. And I think the other thing here is that people lose sight of is that we started this nation not as a nation of sheepdogs. We started this nation as shepherds. Yet we slowly relegated all of our responsibilities to the sheepdogs. Thus, the shepherd became the sheep. I want to let that sink in for a second. The shepherds became the sheep, much like my mother turning to her dog and saying, "Your sheep is coming."
Mhm.
With no shepherds, the wolves took over the position of the shepherd as being in charge, and the sheepdogs have begun to revert back to wolves. And again, we're the sheep here. And we're what's for dinner, boys and girls. It may have actually been episode 5 where we talked about a renaissance of returning to not what this nation started off as, but get back to where this nation was headed.
Right.
As we all know, there were some truly, truly, truly brilliant concepts of liberty and justice for all, as it goes, that started this, but we didn't live up to our full potential. We still had slavery.
Mm-hmm.
We still, had shenanigans.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the founding fathers, or a good portion of them at least, knew, like, hey, these things are wrong, but we're going to get done what we can get done now. Not a great answer. I really don't think that was, I don't think that excuses them from any of that. But it was what it was.
Right.
And we're a long way from that now. But we also got a long way off track of what the meaning of all that was. The pursuit of happiness. Now, most people think it's a right of happiness.
Yeah, no.
Now, I want to back up for a second and work with this shepherd concept for a second. See, a shepherd needs their sheep and the sheepdog, but a shepherd needs the air, land, sea, and water also. So a good shepherd must do all in their power to protect and manage these things. And a good shepherd must care for their flock. They must not exploit them or abuse them, or they risk losing the entire flock altogether, or destroying the grazing lands for that matter. A good shepherd must guide a sheepdog. They must give the sheepdog his boundaries, teach him right from wrong, give him responsibilities, tell him exactly what his job is and what it is not, and keep him from hurting the sheep. His job is not to hurt the sheep. It is to herd the sheep, to protect the sheep from the wolf. A good shepherd must also understand the place of the wolf in the wild, but that wolf must be kept away from the flock. But also, the flock must not be caged to the point of suffocation in the name of protecting it from the wolf. Because at that point, we're talking counterproductive here. Good deal. And I think that raises the thing. What we've forgotten here is this. The government is not the shepherd. The government is just another sheepdog. We are the shepherd. Yet we let the wolves take our place as we became the sheep. And I think here's the thing. After the Constitutional Convention in 1787, Mrs. Powell of Philadelphia asked Benjamin Franklin, "Well, doctor, what have we got? A republic or a monarchy?" And Franklin famously responded with, "A republic if you can keep it. A republic if you can keep it." They knew. I think they knew both what they had created and the likelihood that future generations would basically destroy it. Or, and I think in a lot of ways, it is human nature to be lazy.
Mm-hmm.
We forgot that we're the shepherds. We're not sheep. We are in many ways the chief civilian sheepdogs, but we're first shepherds. Otherwise we become sheep. And this is the thing, and I'm not harshing anybody, but the civilian sheepdog patches have always bothered me in that this notion of all we end up with is a bunch of sheepdogs. We don't need more sheepdogs. We need shepherds, and we need to retrain our sheepdogs. And now, 3 guys that aren't astronauts, but after the apocalypse, they'll tell girls they were. In this episode, we're joined by author Glenn Tate of the super popular 299 Days book series. He's going to get the matches while we get the marshmallows to discuss the burning down of the United States. Afterward, we feel very guilty about it. This is episode 135 of In the Rabbit Hole's Urban Survival Podcasts. We're your hosts, Aaron
And Jason.
and you are in the rabbit hole, safe and sound.
Hit that record button and let's knock this thing out of the park.
Got it.
So Glenn, welcome back, man.
Well, thanks for having me. I had such a good time last time. I think it was the best interview I've ever done. It was by far the funniest, and because you guys are funny, so I'm excited for good stuff. Looking forward to it.
Fantastic.
What are your views on the BRICS bank thing that China and Russia and getting together to set up?
Well, I think that's the alternative to the U.S. dollar being the world reserve currency. I think it is enormously troubling. I don't know if they pull it off because I don't know enough about how much they fight against each other and hate each other. And so, on the surface, it might look like, oh yeah, they're all going to get together, and maybe they don't. But if they do get together, and I suspect they will, because there's a ton of money to be made, which of course is what drives just about everything in this world. They do get together and they have gold backed, partially gold backed, oil backed, or they just have a currency that for whatever reason the rest of the world believes in. Then the dollar's done for. Thing, and that's how these things go. And we all know there's no way the U.S. dollar is sustainable in its current form. Absolutely, mathematically, no way. It should have fallen earlier. And so there'll be something to take it over, because there needs to be a way of conducting global commerce. And when it's not the U.S. dollar, this country, I can't even, and I'm a political person. I think politically, it's innately, I understand politics, and I'm looking around at all these people walking around in this parking lot right now. How do they possibly even grasp, number one, what's going on now, but number two, when it happens and gas is $20 a gallon 2 weeks after some big announcement that the Chinese or the BRICS countries have a gold-backed currency, they're just going to lose their freaking minds. Absolutely go insane. And that is why I prep.
And now, the only survival show to survive rubbing its mustache against an angry beehive. In this episode, we sit down with the bee whisperer, Michael Jordan. He's back to share his knowledge of beekeeping, philosophical masturbation, and life lessons. So good to have you on the show again. We had so much fun last time, and it's been entirely too long. I know it was January of last year, in fact, was the last time we had you on.
Oh, yeah, I'm glad to be back. I love your guys' adventures, and I always like to hear about it. One day we're going to have our own ship and sail away.
Battleship.
That's my favorite one, is the roving horde ship of pirates.
Yes. And now, the survival show which once survived the apocalypse with just a hula dancer and a hot air balloon, Pinky. In this episode, we sit down with Gary of Guns Over Texas Radio Podcast. We're going to discuss what the future may hold. Black Lives Matter, All Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter, and what may be one of the most serious disconnects of our generation. Howdy, and welcome back to In the Rabbit Hole's Urban Survival Podcast. This is episode number 177, Season 6. I'm your host, Aaron, and you are back in the rabbit hole, safe and sound. This episode is marked explicit. Now, often the episodes are marked explicit just to scare people off, honestly. But this episode really is going to drop some F-bombs. And really, this is the kind of episode which calls for them. So with that, strap in, kiddies. Here we go. Gary, welcome back to In the Rabbit Hole, dude.
Thank you, sir.
You know, you are one of my favorite human beings on this planet. And I know we actually don't know each other all that well, but every time I'm around you, every time we talk, I'm like, this is a person I wish I had, like, just infinite amounts of time to just sit and bullshit about the what the fucks. And that's kind of what this episode's going to be about. And it being the season 6 kickoff here, let's have some fun with it.
And now, the survival show which once survived a Cajun alligator wrestling match. In this episode, Jason and I sit down to discuss an update on his cattle ranching adventure, alligator wrestling, the end of the ITRH farm, and surviving middle age. Howdy, and welcome to In the Rabbit Hole's Urban Survival Podcast. This is episode number 188. I'm your host, Aaron, and you are in the rabbit hole, safe and sound. Jason, you're back in the rabbit hole here, man.
Sir, yes, sir.
It's
been way too long.
It has been way too long. And actually, we have not even recorded together since the studio.
Yes.
Well, the entire rabbit hole, as it were, moved since I moved, of course. But
I think we've only done one show here.
Have we even done one show here?
Yeah, I think we've done one.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That was a while back. I don't even remember what we did. But
I'm
you and I were just talking about this before we started recording. Like, I haven't seen you or John. Like, I actually do see Jonathan a lot now since we work together. But you and I were just talking, like, Jonathan and I were just out of town together for a work thing. And even then, we didn't really get a chance to talk. The most I've talked to even Jonathan in the last couple of months was he called me the other day and I thought it was a work thing. And I was like, oh shit, man. I don't know. Like it was like 6 o'clock or something. And I was just done. I was just mentally spent. And I was like, oh shit, I don't want to talk to you about this. And it was like, I felt bad because I was like, it's Jonathan. Of course. But I was like, I don't know. And I was like, yeah, man, what's going on? What's blown up on your end of the company or whatever.
Guns.
And he was like, no. He's like, I'm locked in a deep personal debate on 270 versus 6.5, and I need your help talking through this whole bolt action rifle thing. And I'm just like, oh, well, in that case, I want to talk about
that's
that.
different.
That's different. As long as we're not talking about work shit, that's cool. So yeah, it's crazy. I mean, we were talking about it. It sucks getting old because your
life just gets busy, man.
It does. And it gets busy in weird ways. And in some ways it's okay. And it's things.
Yeah. Emptying out diaper bins is not.
I'm not there yet.
Yeah. Just wait, buddy.
Yeah. But it is weird because in your 20s, you think life will somehow get easier because you'll answer to less people or something and all these things. And then in your 30s, if you haven't settled down, you've got, more cash coming in and life is a little bit easier, but it's kind of getting a little bit busier. And then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, my 40s. You're thinking it's just going to keep going that way.
Yeah, no.
It doesn't. like somehow like late 30s, early 40s, you like hit the real job kind of, or the real tier of your career. And no, somehow it doesn't get easier. It gets harder and it gets more draining and more time consuming.
Yes.
And you get married and
you have kids.
And well, I'm not there yet, but and I think even the married part, you start realizing like, oh, I'm married to you. I better start designating real time to actually spend with you and not just dates. Like,
yeah, the wife is actually a business partner that you must allocate certain amounts of time.
Yes. And if for people thinking this is not a survival conversation, you are wrong. You try not spending enough time with your wife and you see how that shit goes down.
This is the real survival podcast.
This is real shit right here. So it's a shame we don't get to spend as much time together anymore as friends. And we certainly don't get into shenanigans.
No shenanigans.
None. Well, you had. So as a quick, before we get to what you've been inappropriately doing to livestock, what you've been doing something that you were like having some sort of weird menage a trois with an alligator or something, you and another redneck dude in the middle of a swamp somewhere rolling around.
I just had to go get my Cajun on, it's a calling, it's like a callback to the wild kind of thing.
Yeah.
Brought back a bunch of memories growing up. I got to go do coon-ass shit for the weekend.
And now, the survival show that once survived binge-watching Supergirl. In this episode, we welcome back author Gary Collins. He's going to share with us his experience of building off-grid and going off-grid. It's doable, but it's not all rainbows and kittens. Plus, he shares with us his patent-pending tiny house rant, no extra cost. Howdy and welcome to In the Rabbit Hole's Urban Survival Podcast. This is episode number 197. I'm your host, Aaron, and you are in the rabbit hole, safe and sound. Gary, welcome back to In the Rabbit Hole, dude.
Hey, thanks for having me back, Aaron.
And now, the survival show that once survived a night at the Roxbury with no power. In this episode, we sit down with author Cal Wilson. He's an attorney by day and a prepper author by night. We discuss his new book about an EMP attack and life afterwards. Now, if you think this is just another EMP book, you may be in for a surprise. Tigers and gorillas included at no extra charge. Howdy and welcome to In the Rabbit Hole's Urban Survival Podcast. This is episode number 214. I'm your host, Aaron, and you are in the rabbit hole, safe and sound. Cal, welcome to In the Rabbit Hole.
Hey, man. Glad to be on your show.
Well, this is fun. Like, we actually get to talk in pseudo person. And now, the survival show that once survived a lengthy debate on gender fluid occupy. In this ITRH Book Club episode, Zach Lynn stops by to discuss sailing in the zombie apocalypse and shenanigans. Howdy and welcome to In the Rabbit Hole's Urban Survival Podcast. This is episode number 216. I'm your host, Aaron, and you are in the rabbit hole, safe and sound. Zach, welcome to In the Rabbit Hole.
Thanks so much for having me. It's an honor. I really enjoy your podcast.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate the good words. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun today because you have an interesting book. And you are the author of Undead Reckoning and the world champion title holder for most comical Amazon author bio. And now, the survival show that once survived growing extra fingers, apparently. In this episode, we sit down with Josh to discuss vodka, more vodka, and traveling with firearms. Howdy and welcome to In the Rabbit Hole's Urban Survival Podcast. This is episode number 218. I'm your host, Aaron, and you are in the rabbit hole, safe and sound. A quick word of warning and an announcement. So this is a summer short. It's a little longer than normal summer shorts. And when we get into the show itself, you will actually understand why it goes on a little longer than we expected it to. Now, the next thing you should note, we are drinking very heavily in this episode, and we're up very late. And an Armada member of some time now has repeatedly made a special request that we make a drunk ITRH episode, and I kept assuring her I was convinced it would be far less entertaining than she thought it would be. So I am intentionally putting this episode out without even listening to it and editing a single bit, which drives me more crazy than you can possibly imagine. And with all that, the drunk episode. Okay, so this evening, as it actually is, we're joined by Secrets. We've had 12 fingers of vodka at this point. So, Kristen, you are getting your wish. This actually is the first aired drunk in the Rabbit Hole podcast, even if it is a summer short.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, we're all being super safe here. We're going to talk about firearms while intoxicated, and it's like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Everything's unloaded, I promise.
And we've been gossiping about all of you like a couple of girls. So, yeah. All right. So, Josh, we are going to talk about traveling with firearms because we've been talking about for the last few episodes, we've been pushing everybody, get out this summer, go get some training. And sometimes with that training, it involves, of course, traveling. And now the survival show that once survived compromising photos on the interwebs. of a bad hair day. In this episode, the other half of the Privacy and Security podcast joins us, Michael Basil. He shares with us some extremely creepy things people can find out about you on the internet, and we'll discuss how to clean them up. Howdy and welcome to In the Rabbit Hole's Urban Survival Podcast. This is episode number 245. I'm your host, Aaron, and you are in the rabbit hole, safe and sound. Michael, welcome to In the Rabbit Hole.
Thank you. I've been listening for a while, so it's really fun when you get to appear on a podcast you listen to, and then I'll get to watch it appear in my feed. So this is step one of being excited. Step two will be when it comes out.
And now, the survival show that once survived being gassed by a Weimaraner. In this episode, we sit down with author, lawyer, and champion of the Second Amendment, Stephen Halbrook. He's going to share with us a history lesson on gun control from Nazi Germany. Howdy and welcome to In the Rabbit Hole's Urban Survival Podcast. This is episode number 264. I'm your host, Aaron, and you are in the rabbit hole, safe and sound. Mr. Halbrook, Stephen, thank you for being on the rabbit hole today.
Aaron, thank you for having me on your show.
And now, the survival show that once survived, making episodes with hashtag no pants, but only randomly, so you never know which one. In this episode, we sit down with Rory Miller. He's going to share with us some Jedi mind tricks, how you can see threats coming before they happen, and give us his thoughts on the wussification of society. Howdy and welcome to the Rabbit Hole's Urban Survival Podcast. This is episode number 271. I'm your host, Aaron, and you are in the rabbit hole, safe and sound. Rory, welcome to In the Rabbit Hole.
It's good to be here, and I love that name.
Thanks. I appreciate it. And now, the survival show that once survived, debating new drapes versus new AKs. In this episode, firearms industry legend Jim Fuller of Rifle Dynamics joins us. We discuss building AKs and the future of 1940s tech. Howdy and welcome to the Rabbit Hole's Urban Survival Podcast. This is episode number 273. I'm your host, Aaron, and you are in the rabbit hole, safe and sound. Jim, welcome back to In the Rabbit Hole.
Hello, Aaron. How are you, brother?
I'm doing well. And now, the survival show that once survived being probed by the alien platypus Illuminati. In this episode, your buddy Mark drops by. We discuss holiday gift buying ideas for the prepper in your house. Howdy and welcome to In the Rabbit Hole's Urban Survival Podcast. This is episode number 275. I'm your host, Aaron, and you are in the rabbit hole, safe and sound. Today's guest is a longtime friend of the show, Armada member, and all-around cool guy. You may remember him from the Reloading for Beginners episode a while back. And with that, Mark! Welcome back to In the Rabbit Hole.
Good day, sir. How is my famously fuzzy friend doing nowadays?
And now, the survival show that once survived, playing with its bag a little too much. In this episode, your buddy, former operator and privacy and security expert Justin Carroll drops by. We deep dive on EDC. Howdy and welcome to In the Rabbit Hole's Urban Survival Podcast. This is episode number 282. I'm your host, Aaron, and you are in the rabbit hole, safe and sound. Justin, welcome back to In the Rabbit Hole.
Aaron, what's going on, man?
Oh, you know, living the dream here on the interwebs. And now, the survival show that once survived, making one last episode. In this finale, this ITRH finale, we discuss all sorts of things y'all may have wanted to know about the show, and even a little bit about me. And I'm the one in the hot seat this time, for a change. Howdy and welcome to the Rabbit Hole's Urban Survival Podcast. This is episode number 300. I'm your host, Aaron, and you are in the Rabbit Hole. Safe and sound. Let's welcome the real host of this episode on. Amanda, welcome back to In the Rabbit Hole.
Thanks for having me back, Aaron.
Show notes, links, and other tasty resources from this episode can be found by going to intherabbithole.com/E299. If you're watching this on YouTube, just look in the description section below this video. And speaking of YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to do all that YouTube stuff. Throw us a like, subscribe, and slap that bell around because bananas are yellow. With that, we wrap up episode number 299 from the Lone Star State. Till next time, stay safe and sound.